Can you hear me? Is the microphone working? Okay. Otherwise, I'm just gonna talk really loud if this is not working. I hear you. Yeah, it's better? Okay, good. Yes, everyone has a seat. Welcome everyone to the first Golang meetup of 2020. A great turnout I see, lots of people. I hope everyone can get a seat. There's still a little bit there in the back, some chairs, so that's okay. First I want to thank our sponsor this time, Beats, who has a really nice brand new office here with a lot of space. That's awesome. And to introduce a bit more about Beats, here's Dimitri.
I'm not sure that it's really working though.
It is really working.
It is really working. Okay. Well, I pretend that. Okay. Well, I trust you. All right, guys. So first of all, we're super excited to welcome all of you. Such an amazing crowd. You know, couldn't be better way to sort of celebrate our new office, our moving, which had happened actually on 31st of December. It was super exciting. As you can imagine, moving all the stuff on New Year's night. So first of all, I would like to introduce ourselves actually, because I bet most of you have no idea what the Beat is, right? And that's fine, right? So Beat is it's a ride-hailing company. In fact, actually, it's one of the fastest growing ride-hailing companies in the industry. Most importantly, we operate. Yeah. So, of course, I'm not gonna bore you with a bunch of like corporate slides, saying like our mission is blah 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 and whatever. But I was thinking like, what would be if it's one word to explain what Beat is about? What would that be? I think it's growth. And the reason I put it there, it's not because, of course, all these corporate metrics and whatever, how quickly we grow and KPIs. It's actually also the growth mindset, which is in the head of everyone working at Beat, and what we value a lot. And in terms of, we do have great numbers. Actually, last year the company was growing at a rate of around 200% year-on-year growth in terms of market share and whatever. We reached more than 15 million active passengers and drivers in 6 countries in South America and Latin America. Really good numbers, hyper growth. The challenge that we faced immediately is that the organization, the tech, the engineering, the processes had to scale accordingly. Because the company comes from a really startup kind of culture. It was a really humble, small startup originating from Greece with really small investment that just wanted to make an impact. And now we are facing really big scaling challenges. And these challenges actually, they are interesting, they're exciting, especially in terms of engineering. We're facing challenges around, how do you build distributed systems at scale? Things that, lots of more well-established companies have already figured out years ago. We're in the process of making some mistakes, learning from bigger peers, and reaching some good results. And of course, in that sense, we're looking also for people to join us in our journey, right? This journey is around, again, building data-intensive, data-driven applications that support decisions on our platforms. The teams here in Amsterdam, we just started growing the Amsterdam office back in September. We are roughly 23, 24 people as of March, not much, but it's a really, really mighty team, as our CEO likes to say. And this team is a bunch of people who have strong background in microservices, distributed systems, machine learning, data science, all the adjacent engineering areas that are really needed to build something that scales and powers this hypergrowth. So if you're interested to learn more, just reach out to many of our engineers that are around today, or to me, or just check out our website. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and again, welcome.
Thank you, Dimitri.
And actually, that's the main message, right? So, Golang is at the heart of our platform, as you can imagine, and we love it.
That's great. That's why we have to meet up here. So I forgot to say just now, I'm Eric. If you have any questions after, then you can just come to me. Everyone should be on the Gopher Slack, the Amsterdam channel. If you're not there, scan the QR code. I hope it works with the 2 screens. We're always looking for more speakers. If you have something interesting to tell, can be like 5 minutes lightning talk, can be 20 minutes full talk. We're there to support you even in making your slides, helping you, everything you want. And we're always looking for sponsors for stuff like mugs. We have always for the speakers, but definitely for venues. We're always looking for more venues. So if you have a nice big office space or something, let us know if you're interested in hosting a Go Meetup. Oh, wrong button. Then next month, instead of a normal meetup, we want to do a workshop, a small workshop, like 15 to 20 people. We are still looking for a venue for that. It will be for really Go beginners, like you need to have programming experience, but that's it. So maybe not for everyone here in the room. We're still looking for a venue, if everyone knows anything, like 15 to 20 people for desks, so we can have a proper workshop. And this weekend is Amsterdam. Who of you are going? Can you raise your hands? Oh, not so many. Well, now you guys know from each other that you're going. Maybe you can meet up there. Maybe you can go together. If people are still interested, I have no idea. Is there still tickets available?
Free.
It's free. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I don't have time to go. Too bad. I also want to promote the Rotterdam meetup, which is going to be in a little bit more than a month. I don't know if people here are living closer to Rotterdam than Amsterdam, and we prefer to have the meetup there, but that's soon as well, to be found on meetup.com. And now the schedule, we're going to have 4 talks tonight, 2 lightning talks, 2 full 20-minute talks. We're going to have a break in between. And we're going to start with what's new in Go 1.14. As maybe most of you hopefully know, 1.14 will be released next month. Should be beginning next month, but it's a bit delayed. More about why it's delayed and more about what's new in Go 14 is gonna be, Mechiel is gonna talk about this. Mechiel is a freelance developer, also one of the organizers of the Golang meetup. I want to give the mic to. You need to connect your laptop.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to explain all the talks first. And then
Then I can do that. You can connect it.
Good plan.
So the next talk is going to be insight into the show. Just connect it, I'll keep talking.
Yeah, you know it?
Yeah, I know it. The next talk is going to be about Go Get, not Go Get like with a space in between, but without a space in between, which is a tool that's internally developed at Beat. After that, we're going to have a lightning talk about using values or pointers as function arguments and the implications of doing that. And after that, we're going to have a talk about test-driven development. And here is Mechiel.
Thanks, Eric. What's new in Go 1.14? Many things are new in Go 1.14. This is a lightning talk. I have to speak very quickly, and I still cannot cover all the topics, so I just made a selection of some of the things that are new in Go 1.14. So let's get started with what Eric was saying. There has been a bit of a delay. So normally, the Go team tries to release a Go release every 6 months, which the process is like this. First 3 months of work, then 1 month of freeze, no features added, just testing and making sure it's solid, then 1 month of beta, then 1 month of release candidate, and then the release. So as you can see by the dates, we're a bit late with the beta, and there is no release candidate yet, and it should have been out already. Of course, this happens almost every time. Every time the team tries to stick to a release plan. In this case, they found a performance regression in some of the changes related to timer code. It was ironically a performance improvement that caused the performance regression. But they're working on it, they've been testing it internally at Google, and that's why they found this problem. So the bad news is that it's delayed. The good news is that once it's there, it will probably be pretty solid. So on to the first, no, not on to the first feature. This is something you can do. You can try the beta in the meantime. Can I see some hands who has tried the beta already? I see 1 hand. 2 hands. I see a hand there in the back. You get free Gopher socks. You can pick them up later. That's a little bit of a incentive for you to try the beta. Now it's very simple to start with these beta releases, also release candidates. Just go get a specific version, then you've got a new command, and you can just use it as a normal command with GoBuild. You just have to download the packages first, the SDK, But it's a very simple process, and you can also install other point releases this way. That's how I always do it. It's very quick. So I recommend you to give it a try, especially because there are changes, of course, to the compiler, to the packages, to the libraries, and it might impact your code. Maybe you find a bug in the compiler toolchain, or maybe you realize that your code does something iffy and doesn't work with the new toolchain. So it's nice to get some head warning so you can fix your code. Now on to the real first change. It's a change in the language. This is going to be in Go 114. And it's a mouthful. Allow embedding of overlapping interfaces. So I've tried to make it somewhat clear with an example. And in this example, we've got two almost the same types, T1, T2. We have identical functions string in their interface. It's just a stringer interface if you know a bit of Go. And it has some other method, each of them. Now, if you want to define a third type, type called combined, also an interface, and you're embedding the two existing types, T1 and T2 in there, then with 113 you would get an error message because you've got a duplicate string method, and with 114 this is allowed, and that's because there is not really any harm in allowing it. It's actually a bit of an annoying error message. I see that yeah. So it should show there that there's no error message at the bottom if you try to build it from 114. Alright, next slide. In Go 114 you will have many improvements to how Go modules are handled. So Go modules are quite nice for dealing with dependencies. This is just one example, one change made to the Go toolchain, and that is if at the top the root of your module directory you'll have a directory vendor. So if you want to you're vendoring your Go dependencies, then it is automatically used in Go 114. In Go 113 you have to explicitly specify that you want the vendor dependencies if you want to use them. That's a bit confusing. Sometimes people get it. In Go 114 it's automatic. One small change, but there are many tweaks in 114 that make life with Go modules a bit easier and less error prone. Now on to the first big change, and that is faster defers in Go 114. So it's an optimization that is sometimes applied to your code, and it's an optimization called open-coded defers. So I've made a little bit of an example here, a little code snippet. You've got this function work, and first thing it does is register a cleanup one function to be called, yeah, only 1 more minute. It calls defer cleanup 1 to register this cleanup function at return time, and then maybe also cleanup 2. Then does the real work, and of course when you actually call this code, when you return from this function, those functions are called in reverse to clean up stuff, maybe error handling. So this is normal, this is how it still works. Now in Go 113 this is implemented, this registering of defer functions is implemented by basically building chains of these function calls. And when you're returning, you're going past one by one and calling those functions. But registering these deferred functions takes memory allocations. So if you're lucky, they go on the stack. If you're unlucky, they go on the heap. And that's causing quite a bit of overhead. Of course, programmers optimize their code, and they think, I'm just going to get rid of those deferred functions, the deferred calls, and they just manually program their error handling. And of course, what happens then later on, after they programmed it, someone else comes in, adds a little bit of code, and forgets to properly handle all the errors. And of course, the whole error handling is one of the reasons defer was created in the first place. So the Go team wants you to use defer, and it helps you by making them faster. So so how it works. How it works is that we've got this work function, and at the beginning of the function it will just allocate a bunch of stack space and put a function called parameters there, and it will keep a bitmap of all the defer statements it has reached. So when it is returning, it can look at the bitmap and it knows what deferred function it should be calling, and it already had the stack space for those parameters. So there's no allocation while you're processing the statements. Now there's a catch. This doesn't work if you have it, meaning the optimization is not applied if you have too many defer statements in your function. So don't make too long of a function. If you have too many return points, like points where you can return from in your function, or if you call defer in loops, which is already a bit weird. So If you do all those, then you don't get this optimization. Now, what does this optimization bring you? Faster differs, but somewhat slower panic and recover. As you can see with the old-fashioned differs might take, in a benchmark I took from this change list there at the bottom, I did a benchmark, and the normal old-fashioned defer took 35.4 nanoseconds. With open-coded deferred, only 5.6 nanoseconds, and a regular function call is 4.4 nanoseconds. So it's very close to a regular function call. So in 1.14, don't try to be smart, just use defer, except when you are using panic and recover as a sort of a common way to do flow control. Then in that case, you'll be slower because the error handling in that case was 62 nanoseconds from 62 nanoseconds to 255. All right. More details there. I will finish up now. There's another really juicy improvement in Go 1.14, asynchronously preemptible Go routines, but unfortunately I cannot speak about them now because my time is up. Come talk to me in a break and I'll tell you all about it.
Thank you, Mechiel. And the next talk, let's set up the laptop. The next talk is insight into GoGet, and GoGet without the space, as I said. GoGet is an internal tool here made by Beat, and to talk more about it are Kanan and Serdar. They're going to talk more about the tool and how internal package management works in Go. While you're setting up, does anyone have any questions for Mechiel about the previous talk? Look, we're over time, so maybe. The last point, I can tell. Like asynchronous preemption means that if you have a for loop where you're not doing any function calls, for example, so the code is continually executing, before that would really lock, because Go would switch between Go routines on the boundary of function calls. So if you didn't have a function call, it would have no point to switch to another Go routine. In 1.14, it will do that differently with interrupts, I think. So it will go to a different Go routine. So if you have like really CPU intensive code, I don't know, that barely uses any function calls, like video decoding or something else, that's gonna work a lot better with the new Go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Give an applause for them.
Hello. Hello. Yep. First of all, it's not GoGet, it's gomodctl. We already changed the name. So it was like GoGet was like internal name. It's not now. It's gomodctl. So shortly about us. So basically, we will talk about Go models and packages, how they work, and also we have like internal tool gomodctl. It's now open sourced, and we will give some information how it works and why you might need this tool in your development, local development. So first about us. My name is it's here. My name is Kanan. I worked for Beat for last 3 months for now. It's my first month actually. Before Beat, I worked as a Python developer actually, so full-time Python developer. So and before Python was .NET and C#. So in this gomodctl you'll see some ideas from Python and then NuGet, if you know .NET, like package management ideas, and also.
Hi, my name is Serdar. I'm working at Beat for 4 months. I'm in Netherlands for 2 years, and before that I was working as a Java developer for 7 years in advertisement, insurance, banking, e-commerce, that kind of stuff. So that's it.
Yep. So agenda or topics. So since our tool is for like package management and models, first we needed to like explain how they work in Go, especially in Go 1.11 and up to the 1.13, not 1.14 for now. And then we will have some topics about Go versioning, because internally we optimize how, for example, we check for new versions within your project, new dependencies. And then we will go into some gomodctl and see what we do now, which kind of commas we have now. And then yeah, we will have some questions if we have. So Go modules. So if you know, so in Go there is like entity like Go module, and then there is also packages. So actually Go module is a kind of set of the packages. You probably know this. And for example, in terms of like Testify, it's a module. And in Testify, you might have like packages, assert and mock, for example. And it's actually how it is like structured internal or designed internally. And for example, when you, for example, in your package, in your project, you have import for assert. From Go 1.11, when you do like go get, you will actually get a module. And within this module, you will have all dependencies, for example, assert, mock, and etc., locally within your project. So that's how go get works from 1.11. Actually, it was like design proposal from 1.11. And from 1.13, yeah, you can actually use this proxy idea or module mod. So basically, when you do go get, for example, again, go get for Testify module, go get will look for this module and find go mod file for the module. And if there are some dependencies, it will try to get them as well. And also, there is a gosum file which will help to verify this package, this module. Why I'm explaining this? Because we will dive into Go module, like module proxy. It's the idea behind this like package management. But shortly, let's say you have two proxy servers, for example, one internal and one external, and you might have like same version of this package in both repositories. And using this proxy tool, you can like make sure that, for example, if one of them is like, for example, you have internal repository, and in this repository you save these Go modules, and for some reason it's like removed or you remove the version, you have to make sure that these modules and these packages still exist. And for this, and it's actually part of the Go tool, but let's start for module proxy. So basically, in a word of Go, when you want to get some module, for example, you do go get, and this go get will try to get this module from proxy server. And this proxy server, in case of like if you use default one, so if you use default without any proxy override, it will be this proxy module. And when you try to get this module or dependencies of this module, GoGet will try to get this from proxy server. And there is some like endpoints to verify, for example, let's say we wanted to get, for example, again, this Testify. We do GoGet. Go tool request this package from proxy. And to do this, there is like some endpoints. So you can see, for example, we have first one, which is list. And this one is used for example, we have module Testify, and you want to see which versions of this module exist current now. So this one will provide all these versions. And then based on the version, you can get information about this package. Structure for this information is over there. I don't know if it's seen or not. So basically, it will contain name of the version and time, like commit time in this case. And then based on this version, you can request gomod, which we can see somewhere here. Yeah. It will contain for the given module dependencies. And another endpoint in this is actually like zip, and this one will be used to get the actual like latest version of this module. In terms of, so there is also like flags within proxy. For example, you can specify that if there is no given module in this proxy, try to get this module from repository. And since, for example, in this case it's GitHub, if we don't have this module in Go proxy, GoGet will try to get like it from repository itself. And in this case, we can see like why we need Go proxy with Go and what's like advantages. I tried like show on the right side why, for example, one of the advantages of this proxy. For example, as I said, let's say we use some request story from GitHub, it's open source, we rely on a version, for example, 1.2. And like, let's say tomorrow, author of this request story, they decide to remove it. And in this case, when you try to get this with GitHub and a version of the model, you will fail because it is removed. And to prevent this, proxy, in this case, like default proxy of Go, they will have local cache. And if you use like default proxy, it will be returned from proxy. This is like one of the examples how it works, and also reasons why you might like advantage of using proxy instead of using like direct repository source. And as we can see, for example, if I took this from Go blog, so you can like we will have a link at the end. So basically, you can see that if I request some module, I will first try. So Go get will first try to get this list of the versions, and then based on this version, it will get information about this version, and then finally mod, which will like keep dependencies of this module. And at the end, we will have like a zip with all source code, and it will be downloaded to the local folder. And as I said, like one advantage of using this proxy is like you have like less latency. So because in case of if you use GoGet like with GitHub, it can take longer time, and you might need to like see versions and etc. It's a bit different. We will have a bit information on this. But another advantage is like you have storage like in between, so you don't need to always rely on external source. You can get from proxy. In case of like you have dependency on the version, so if this version is removed, you can get this version from the backup of the proxy. You don't have to like handle this manually. As I said, in the world of Go, there is like default proxy, index, and sum. And when you don't override this proxy of the Go, you will use these default values. And you can actually, let's say you want to develop some, like in our case, we want to develop like our custom tool. And you might need like to talk with these proxies directly, not through the GoGet, but directly. You can use these endpoints or web servers. Or another case, for example, you don't want to use this proxy from Go, but for example, you want to have like it internally within your infrastructure. You can use this project. It's called Athens. And by using this, it's quite simple. By using this, like in your infrastructure, you can get all this information about the modules internally and also cache them. So this will be responsibility of this project. There is also another one which is Go proxy, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, this is like popular one. But in our case, since we are trying like so within our tool, we want to give like tool to search Go modules and, for example, or update your internal project dependencies. It's quite similar if you're from Python background. It's quite similar to pip or to Maven from Java. But to keep it shortly, so basically, when we want to search for a package and we want to use API for this, it will be api.godoctor.org. And it will provide like JSON API how you can search and then get information about this package. There is another one also from Go team, which is package Go dev, but for now, and they promise that they will have like much more information about this package, that you can get all these dependencies from API or probably from API. But for now, this API is not public, so we cannot use it. So we rely on this Go.api. And yeah, it's yours.
Model proxy solves one part of the problem. There is ongoing problem about how we version dependencies. So in Go modules, it solves version with something called semantic import versioning. What is it? It says that if an old package and the new package have same import path, the new package must be backwards compatible with the old package. It's also something similar what Go promised. It says that it is intended that programs written to Go 1 specification will continue to compile and run correctly, unchanged over the lifetime of that specification. So adding new features to existing library shouldn't break your backwards compatibility or your build. But in this semantic import versioning, it also relies on the import path. For example, in this example, we have a library with version 2.3.4. But in the Go modules, we also embed major version number into path to ensure libraries with two different major versions will have different paths. So in Java, there is similar example to this called commons length. There is commons length 2 and 3. 2 and 3 have different import paths, so it is something similar to this. So how Go resolves dependency graph? Go use minimal version selection. It means that if you have two different libraries that depend on one library, you will get latest version allowed. If I give an example, for example, this library C, it depends on library D 1.4. But in another application, you have your dependency A, which depends on dependency B and C. But this B and C depends on different dependency D, which you can see on requirements on the left side. So Go decided B depends on 1.3, but C depends on 1.4. So it's okay to use 1.4 because if everyone is following rules, there is no complaint about backwards compatibility. So this is another diagram which I took from this original Go modules proposal. You can visit that page. It explains a lot about how it started and how it ended. Now some of the comments and concepts are a little different, but core is the same. So in here, Unity library depends on Azure and AWS library. They are using same library but different major versions, and since they have different import paths, there is no reason to worry about if one of the dependencies get updated. It won't break your other dependency line.
So So basically, just to give a summarize on this. So with this tool, since it was like idea to try to to have something like PIP, PIP, or NPM or Maven for a Go world, and to get all this information using only one tool. Since most of this stuff, for example, versioning, updating versioning, and everything else, you can do with different tools, or at least some external tool you can get this. But since with this tool, we try to give some solution. For example, if you have a local proxy and you want to get all this information from local proxy, or for example, you want to have you have a project and you want to check that is there any version update for this project. So how you can do this automatically? So, or for example, in your CI/CD environment. So yeah, this project was spawned in hackathon within 1 day. Initial version or the version that was called GoGet. And initially we had two subcommands, very simple, search, check, and info. But later we tried, okay, we can use it internally, but maybe we can also open source and try to add more features. For example, one of the features that we wanted to have, like it's like update. For example, you have project and there is new versions, and you don't want to deal with these versions manually. So you do like gomodctl and update. It will update your dependencies. So that's why, yeah, it was like built locally with some features, and then we made it open source with a team of 3 people. You see 2 of us, but there is also one, our colleague, which is not like in Amsterdam. And maybe you also, because it's like open source. If you have like any pull requests or suggestions, you can do. For now, we have very initial versions with 4 subcommands, and you can install it with go-get, homebrew, and we have release with Windows executable. And in this version, in this like public version, we have, as I said, 4 commands. First command is a search. This one will, by the given term, search which libraries we have. For example, let's say I want to search for Mongo libraries. I provide this input, and it will provide like a list of the existing modules for Mongo or related modules for Mongo. I can like it's like short version. We can also like see all these results. There is quite yeah, we have 2 minutes now, but yeah, okay. So there is a short version of this command, which is info. It will provide like more detailed information on this module and check. So this too is quite important, so I want to like focus on this too. So this check command, for now it requires existing project. So if you have like Go project, you can go to this Go project folder or directory and run gomodctl and check. And in this version, you will see, for example, in this case, I think we have testify, not this way, but I am seeing, for example, Viper. We use Viper. It's another from example from gomodctl itself. So we have dependence on Viper. We used version 1.5 and there is version 1.6, and it's like where we have like this dependency, like a version difference. For now, we check only for minor, maximum minor number. We don't like dive into the major one, because for major, you will need to run some tests and verify that it actually works and doesn't break your project. And once you see that, for example, you have this check and there's a difference in version, you can run within the same project gomodctl update, this one. And it will automatically update internal dependencies to the maximum minor version. For this, we use internal tool. Do you want to give? Yeah.
For this, actually check functionality, it already exists inside Go CLI itself, but you know it is not okay to run it directly. But it is also possible to use Go proxy to check for updates, but we are not using that now. We have plans to use that, but for update, we are using a library called Xmod from Go itself. In that library, you can alter your Go mod file to do whatever you want, change versions or add new stuff or delete. So basically, in update, we are checking for minor updates. It is not possible to check for major updates, but we are doing minor updates, and we are creating a backup for your old Go mod file to not lose your dependencies. Then we are writing a new Go mod file which only updates minor. That's it.
Yeah. And also, since updates, you will probably have some major updates, and for this we have like another, it's like our problem next goal. But for example, since major versions, they can break your project dependencies, or it can break like your like dependence on this model. So that's why you will have to, in our current understanding, you will have to provide another flag to force to upgrade major versions, and also to try it before actual updating. But this part is like our goals. We used these like dependencies to build this tool, and it's like quite small. We have Cobra and Viper for command line management and configuration management, because, for example, in case when you have internal proxy and you want to use internal one to search, you can do it with configuration file. And as Serdar mentioned, we use Xmod to give information.
This library only contains functionality to override or read your module file.
Yep. And also, yeah, since it's like open source, yeah, we do go release for publishing. As a next step, we want to do license checking. We want to do some like security check, or there is like paid services when you can check some modules for existing bugs and etc. or security issues. You can do this also in future versions. And also, as I said, using custom proxy and configure output, for example, for CI/CD and etc. Yeah, I think we already short some time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the talk. Are there any questions? Otherwise, I have a question. So you've built this awesome tool that adds a lot of commands, easy to update stuff. Why not contribute this back into the gomod tool? Have you thought about that? So instead of building it as a separate tool, try to contribute back to the Go code.
Yeah, we can, but in this tool, it's like, we see this tool a bit broader because, for example, as I said, it can be part of your CI/CD. For example, you don't want to like break some changes or check that your project always depend on the latest versions. And do some customization. For example, you want to use internal proxy server, etc. That's why, yeah, I see that it's a bit like on top of mod, but not replace mod. So, yeah. Okay. I hope.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I think that you are missing the transitive dependencies. So Viper has a lot of dependencies itself,
Yeah.
Cobra, and I'm not seeing them at the moment. But
I forgot to mention that. So for now, we are trusting Go to handle this kind of stuff, and we are only updating direct required dependencies. We are not touching indirect or replace or other stuff. So probably it won't break anything, but we need to test it more.
Any other questions? No one? Okay, then we up in the back. Wait, I'm gonna.
I'd like to say longer.
Sorry?
Yeah, thanks for your speech. And I want to ask, maybe do you have some example of numbers how your tool will work more faster than standard Go models on that? For example, I have project with 10 or 20 libraries, and it takes me 2 minutes to do that or Go model. So what advantage will be for me this tool for speed, for latency?
So you mean speed of the proxy, right?
Yeah, in common. So
Yeah, command itself, like it's a executable binary. It will take. We use internally same packages from Go, which gomod, to update like for maximum minor number. But if you talk about the proxy, it's not part of this tool. So you mean if you mean like how fast this proxy will work, it's not part of this tool. This tool uses proxy to get this information, but it doesn't provide proxy itself. That was your question, or?
yeah, I mean, will be some advantage for me if I would start in your tool effort as a proxy.
Yeah.
So I will save some time when I build some container or something.
Yeah. Advantage of this tool? Do you want to? Yeah.
So we are thinking this tool is not a replacement for Go module or existing toolchain, maybe an extension or something that will make your life easier. So we are not saying that it will compile your code or build your project faster than existing tools. It is just an easy utility to work your life, to make your life easier.
Any other questions? No, then let's have a break. I think we can do like half-hour break until 8. There's still food, there's drinks, the toilets are all the way in the back there. And, yeah.